Vue.js vuex allows you to handle a global variables that you can use in every component of your whole project. This is similar than Redux for React. This URL is the main documentation page for Vuex. So here you can read the documentation to learn more about Vuex. In this diagram, we can see three circles. The first one is action, and actions are like methods available uh, in which we can do actions, like the name says. And the other one is state are the variables inside of the vuex that uh, can be obtained, and the view uses state. The user just interacts with view.
A esto. Al momento tenemos otro que podría cambiar en respuesta.
In this diagram, we can see that view components just interacts with actions. So if we need a state, the state will be returned, but the view component will just use actions, and actions will commit mutations to handle the information or mutate the state, and actions can interact with your API, your backend API. So in our project, when we choose that our project will handle a store, we can see that there is a file inside of store folder. So that means that we are using a vuex store, and even more, I'm using typescript. This is why it is inside of a store folder. As you can see in this picture, the main component that is represented as a Lego piece, the main component has another subcomponents, and those subcomponents has another subcomponents. So in a normal flow, in a normal Vue.js flow, um, if you want to send information, you can send it from the parent to the children through props, and the children can send information to parents through events. But the more pieces we have, the more complex will be. This is why we need to use vuex. In that vuex state, all components will communicate directly, for getting this flow, and it will be more easy to handle it. So now what I'm gonna do is declare a new variable. I'm gonna call it message just for testing, and I will put this is the message variable. So I'm gonna access this variable from another view component. So instead of this message that if you see my project, this is the message that is displayed in that view. So instead of that, I'm going to put dollar store state message. Why I can use this variable without importing? It is because if we go to main.ts, in our global instance, we can see that store is used and it is imported before. This is why I can use this variable without importing. So if I reload the about page, I can see that the variable is displayed, and that variable was declared in this file inside of the state. And the state, as you can see, is that part of our diagram. So we are using the state directly. Then we are going to use those components from by vuex. But we are accessing these variables directly, And what about if we need to do some actions, or we need to put logic to handle the variable? This is when the getters are useful. So we need to declare a function inside of this object, and my function will be say hi. Then in this function it accepts an state because I want to use this variable. So when I put if I return, for example, um, hey, oh, hello Chris, and I can use the state variable using state dot message. I can use directly the state variables inside of the getter functions, so we can do more complex logic inside of this method. But for testing, I'm gonna show you what is the result of doing that. But I forget to use this method in my view. So before showing you how does it looks, I need to use this method. And the way how can I use that is using getters and directly use this variable without parentheses. So as you can see, the text is right, but as I told you, inside of this method you can create a more complex logic for that. Now we are going to do a list of friends using mutations and actions to know how does they work. How do they work? So I'm going to use I'm gonna declare a variable call it friend that doesn't have anything, and another one call it friends that will be an array. And inside of mutations we are going to create the logic that will be add friend, and inside of this logic just we are gonna call our friends. Sorry, this is not this. Vuex provide us with a variable called context, and we can use that variable. Now the variable is state. We are gonna use that variable, and we are gonna add our new friend. So inside of the new array we are going to use state.friend and the other state.friends. Because I am using TypeScript, I need to add this type hinting. Then inside of action we are going to use our mutation, and I'm going to call it at the same than the mutation, and action receive a context variable. So in our context we can use the commit method, and then we need to pass our mutation method that we are gonna use, but inside of those quotation marks. So I'm gonna type add friend, and that's it.
Agregamos.
Now I'm going to use the action inside of our view. So I'm going to put a new input that will be linked with a friend variable inside of my template that will have an script export default. First I need to import my define component, and then export default define component. Then inside of our data, I'm going to return friend as null. Then I'm going to declare methods that will have our method add friend that is going to use store state friend as a friend variable that we have in this component. And then we are going to use, I need to put this inside of the method, so if not it won't work. Then this dot dollar store dispatch and the method that we need to use. The method is add friend, and this method is in our actions because as we can see we need to use actions in our Vue component. This is why we are using that. Then I want to create a UL list of Vue, and inside of UL list there is a li tag. Then I'm going to do a before that will be friend and index in store state friends, and the key will be index. And inside of our li tag we are going to print our friend variable. So we need to go to our project and I need a button. I'm gonna declare a new button. And that button will have a click method, a click event that will just gonna add friend. So I need to put some text inside of this button. We wait for the compilation changes, and if I put, for example, Raul, you can see that Raul is listed and George is listed, and we are using vuex attributes.